The sky above the alien homeworld was a deep violet, streaked with crimson clouds from years of relentless warfare. Jagged mountains and scorched plains stretched as far as the eye could see, a testament to centuries of battles fought for territory and power. At the center of the largest plateau, the female war chief stood tall on her command platform. Her armor glinted under the dying light of the twin suns, and her sharp eyes scanned the horizon. Her army moved in precise formation below, each soldier disciplined and ready. Yet, despite all her victories, a feeling of unease weighed heavily on her chest. Today, a gift was being brought to her, one that was said to honor her greatest triumphs. The alien envoy had traveled from the farthest reaches of the galaxy, carrying a small sealed capsule. The war chief had received reports from her advisors in advance who described the contents as a rare specimen, worthy of her attention. She raised one brow in curiosity, but her mind was cautious. The records were clear. Humans, her people had been told, were extinct. The last of them had been destroyed 2 centuries ago, during the final human war. And yet, here was a delivery claiming otherwise. The envoy approached the platform with careful steps, the capsule cradled in metallic arms. The war chief's eyes never left it, studying the smooth surface that seemed almost alive under the dim light. The capsule hissed as it landed on the platform, releasing a faint mist that shimmered in the fading sun. Her advisors bowed deeply, presenting it before her. "You have your specimen, Chief," one spoke, voice trembling. "It is unique, a relic yet alive." The war chief leaned forward, placing her hands on the railing. She felt a strange mix of curiosity and disbelief. "A relic? Tell me the truth. This is no mere artifact. Humans are dead. All of them. I personally oversaw the destruction of the last one." The envoy paused, as if considering how much to reveal. "Chief, it is alive." Her eyes narrowed, piercing into the small container. "Alive?" With a faint hiss, the capsule opened. A soft hiss of air escaped, and a human figure stepped forward. He was small compared to the towering war chief, but his stance was confident, calm, and unafraid. His eyes were sharp, intelligent, scanning the crowd with careful awareness. A silence fell across the plateau. Soldiers froze mid-step. Advisors whispered among themselves, uncertain how to react. The war chief's jaw tightened. She had been told humans were extinct. She had watched the records of their destruction, the accounts of battles where every last human had fallen. And yet here one stood, breathing, alive, and defiant. The human raised his hands slowly in a gesture of peace. A device at his throat activated, and a clear, calm voice echoed across the platform. "I mean no harm," he said. "I am the last of my kind. But I come with knowledge that could save many lives, yours included." The war chief's heart beat faster, a mixture of shock and fascination. She stepped closer, her armored boots clanging against the platform. "Impossible," she whispered, almost to herself. "I destroyed the last human, 200 years ago." The human's eyes met hers, steady and unflinching. "History can be rewritten. What you think is lost can survive. I survived. And I know things that could turn the tide of any war." Her advisors were restless now. "Chief, perhaps this is a trick," one said, voice sharp. "It could be a spy, a trap. He could be dangerous." The war chief did not answer immediately. She studied him, noting the way he carried himself, the calm intelligence in his gaze. He was small, yes, but there was a strength in his mind and spirit that no warrior could ignore. He did not tremble. He did not panic. He simply stood there waiting. A distant rumble shook the plateau. The war chief glanced toward the horizon. Her scanners had detected something unusual, a fleet approaching from beyond the outer rim. An enemy force. Her mind raced. If this human truly held knowledge, could it be used to defend against what was coming? "Bring him closer," she ordered finally, voice firm but steady. The human nodded, stepping forward without hesitation. The war chief descended from her platform, circling him cautiously. She examined his form, noting the familiar shape of humanity, the same features she had thought extinct. "Why are you here?" she asked. "Why appear now after 200 years?" The human's eyes flicked toward the approaching fleet. "Because now timing matters. Knowledge left unused is power wasted. I survived through stasis and hidden technology. I have seen the rise and fall of empires. I can help you." The war chief felt a shiver run down her spine. She was trained to command, to fight, to win. Yet here was something she could not immediately control or categorize. She had been offered the impossible, a living human, and the weight of her decisions pressed down on her. Her mind went back to the stories she had heard as a child, tales of human ingenuity, their unexpected tactics, and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. Legend said humans had been clever, resourceful, fearless. Her people had called them a threat worthy of extinction, and yet here was one alive in front of her. "Chief," the human said softly, sensing her thoughts, "I know you will doubt me, but I am not here to fight you. I am here to survive and to help you survive too." The war chief stepped back slightly, processing his words. Her generals murmured among themselves, some nodding, others still wary. The approaching fleet grew closer, its presence a looming threat. The plateau vibrated with tension, and the war chief realized that her choice was urgent. She turned to her advisors, then back to the human. "You survived what we thought impossible. That alone is remarkable. But if what you claim is true, then perhaps you hold answers no one else does." The human inclined his head. "I do, but I will need trust. You must allow me to act and advise. Otherwise, my knowledge is useless." The war chief took a deep breath, looking over the barren battlefield, the disciplined soldiers, and the distant enemy fleet. This human could be a key to victory or a dangerous liability. The weight of centuries of strategy pressed on her shoulders, but one thing was certain: she could not ignore him. "Very well," she said finally, her voice firm. "You will stay under my command. You will demonstrate your value. And if you betray us..." Her gaze hardened, but she did not finish the threat. The unspoken words hung in the air. The human nodded once. Calm, measured, and resolute, he seemed ready for anything. As the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the plateau, the war chief felt a mix of anticipation and apprehension. A new force had entered her world, a force she had never thought she would see again, and with it the chance to change the fate of her people, and perhaps the galaxy itself. Far above, in the outer rim, enemy ships approached silently, unaware that the impossible had returned. The night sky over the plateau was painted with streaks of violet and crimson, punctuated by the cold glint of approaching enemy ships. The war chief stood at the edge of her command platform, her arms crossed, eyes narrowing at the distant lights of the fleet. Every instinct in her body told her that this was no ordinary raid. The enemy's numbers were greater than anything her army had faced in decades, yet standing beside her was the impossible, the human alive against all odds. "Chief," the human said, voice calm but confident, "I can help you defend against this attack. But I will need access to your tactical systems and your soldiers' coordination." The war chief studied him for a long moment. Her mind raced through centuries of strategy, weighing risks against potential gains. Trust was not freely given in her world, but she could not ignore the intelligence radiating from this one human. Every detail in his posture and every word he spoke suggested a mind sharper than any commander she had known. "Very well," she said. "You will advise me, but one wrong move." Her voice was firm, warning clear without finishing the threat. The human nodded. "Understood." The war chief's army mobilized quickly. Soldiers took their positions along fortified walls, energy turrets primed and aerial units readied for deployment. The human moved among the ranks, observing silently at first, then making small adjustments. He instructed infantry units to rearrange their formation, suggested optimal placements for defensive turrets, and identified blind spots the war chief's sensors had overlooked. Her generals were skeptical at first, murmuring among themselves, but as the human's calculations began to show tangible results, their skepticism turned to cautious interest. The first wave of enemy scouts appeared, swooping low and fast across the plateau. The war chief gave the order to engage, and her army responded with precision. Yet it was the human's strategy that turned the tide. Using a combination of prediction and careful placement, he directed counterattacks that trapped the scouts in narrow canyons, neutralizing their advantage. The war chief's jaw tightened as she observed his tactics. She had trained warriors for decades, yet this human, who had survived centuries of extinction, demonstrated a level of creativity and intuition she had rarely seen. Her respect for him began to grow. Hours passed. The human worked tirelessly, coordinating troop movements and predicting enemy maneuvers with uncanny accuracy. The war chief walked beside him, asking questions, challenging his assumptions. Each time he provided answers that were clear, logical, and often surprising. "I never thought humans could do this," the war chief admitted quietly, almost to herself. "I believed you were extinct. Yet here you are, outthinking even my best strategists." The human looked at her, a faint smile on his face. "We survive because we adapt. You taught me once that the strongest do not rely on numbers alone, but on ingenuity. I've used that lesson well." Her eyes widened. "You remember teachings from our records?" "Yes," he replied. "I studied every record I could preserve during stasis. Your victories, your strategies, even your weaknesses. I know this world almost as well as you do." The enemy fleet, larger now and more organized, advanced on the plateau. Energy beams cut through the night sky, striking defenses and shaking the ground beneath the war chief's feet. Soldiers faltered, but the human remained composed. "Hold your lines," he instructed. "Do not waste energy on small targets. Focus fire on the command units. They control the fleet's coordination. Disable them and the rest will fall into chaos." The war chief gave the order and her soldiers followed. Guided by the humans' insights, they struck with precision. Enemy ships faltered as their command units were destroyed, creating confusion in their ranks. Smaller fighters were isolated and eliminated, their assault faltering against the carefully executed defenses. For the first time in decades, the war chief felt hope. The human was not just a survivor. He was a force multiplier, turning her army into something far more formidable than she had imagined. After the battle, the plateau was quiet, save for the distant crackle of fires and the hum of damaged machinery. The war chief surveyed the aftermath. Her soldiers were exhausted but alive. Casualties had been minimized and the enemy had retreated in disarray. She turned to the human who stood at the edge of the battlefield, looking toward the horizon. "You have saved countless lives today," she said. "More than I thought possible. I underestimated the value of a single human." After all these years, the human bowed slightly. "I survived to prove that humans are more than numbers or weapons. We endure, we adapt, and we can help those willing to learn from us." The war chief nodded. "You will remain with me. Your knowledge, your strategies, they are invaluable. I will not allow anyone to take you from my side, not enemies, nor even my own people if they do not understand your worth." For the first time, the war chief felt something unusual, respect for a human and perhaps even admiration. She had spent centuries conquering and commanding, yet this one human reminded her of a truth long forgotten. Intelligence, creativity, and courage could surpass brute strength. Over the following days, the war chief integrated the human's guidance into her army. Training sessions began, where soldiers learned new techniques, strategies, and problem-solving methods inspired by human ingenuity. Morale improved. Soldiers spoke of the human with reverence, marveling at his calm under pressure and sharp intellect. The human, in turn, observed the alien society, noting strengths and weaknesses. He suggested improvements in logistics, communication, and resource management, ensuring the war chief's army would be prepared for any future threats. Slowly, trust solidified into an alliance. The war chief walked alongside him on the command platform one evening, watching the twin suns dip below the horizon. "I thought humans were gone forever," she said quietly. "I did not expect to see one again, let alone learn from him." The human smiled faintly. "Sometimes what we believe to be lost is only waiting for the right time to return. Survival is not about forgetting the past. It is about preparing for the future." The war chief nodded, understanding the deeper meaning. Humanity had returned not as a threat, but as a teacher, a guide, and a partner. In him she saw hope, not just for her army, but for the world she had fought so long to protect. As night fell, the stars above seemed brighter than ever. The human stood beside the war chief, looking at the heavens with quiet determination. For the first time in centuries, she realized that her greatest victory was not in conquering enemies, but in embracing the impossible and recognizing the power of human potential. The galaxy had changed that night. A single human had returned, alive and unbroken, proving that ingenuity, courage, and determination could survive even centuries of extinction. And with that, a new era began, one where humans, though few in number, would influence the course of history once more.